Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nitin. I'm from Open Network for Digital Commerce ONDC. I would want to start by thanking Loknath sir, Kochi Metro, ELETS, Axis Bank, and all our partners who have been working continuously to get ONDC across India. And this is a great opportunity for me to talk about the mobility, transportation, travel stories on ONDC. Well, our goal is to digitize everything, but today I'd probably restrict or leave the scope to mobility and transportation, right? Uh, Mr. Amit Kumar Jain from DMRC spoke about Sri Chandrasekharan's quote, digital is default, not an option, right? For a company, for a country trying to go from being a developing country to a developed country, I think digital is definitely the default and not an option. With that, I start. Open Network for Digital Commerce, right, has been set up with the goal for digitizing and dramatically increasing e-commerce penetration in India, right? What UPI did to transactions, ONDC's goal is to do for all commerce, whether product or services. Now, when you look at the current e-commerce landscape in India, while there is a lot of hype, we see the apps, we hear a lot of noise, but the e-commerce penetration still remains abysmally low at about 6 to 7%. Right? For all the hype, it's still very low compared to even peer economies like Indonesia or developing countries like China or developed markets like UK or the United States. Right? And when you look at B2B commerce, this is further low, only about 1.5%. So making a step change on this remains what ONDC's goal is, right? So before I get into mobility, I want to talk a little about what are the problem statements we're looking at to increase e-commerce penetration in India. When you look at e-commerce penetration, why is e-commerce still nascent in India, though there is so much noise, right? So there is limited choice for sellers to be online, right? While e-commerce businesses, platforms have established, brought in their own warehouses, inventory, etc., digitizing the existing business has never been the key priority that a lot of the digitization is done, whereas it's bringing in new businesses, right? The barriers to stitching the entire business together, if you're a digital seller in India, the barriers to stitching that entire seller, creating an online presence, being able to bring consumers to that online presence, as well as if you get an order, building that entire fulfillment ecosystem was a big challenge, and that's something that we want to look at, right? Also, a lot of the platforms today, they set the terms on your behalf, right? And it's a one size fit, take it or leave it kind of terms and conditions. There is no flexibility or the ability of a seller to set terms based on what margin structures, what payment structures, what return policies, that they are comfortable working with. And therefore, there is a barrier that a lot of the sellers are not able to cross, right? Also, discoverability remains a challenge, right? You can all go put up a website, and thanks to the internet, going online is easy. You can have a great storefront, say on Shopify. But then, how do you spend the money and do the digital marketing, and then bring consumers to your respective websites and get orders? And if you go to platforms, I spoke about the challenges, right? Now, with this context, I want to move a little to mobility, right? And when you look at mobility specifically, if you look at, say, three-wheelers, four-wheelers across India, you will see that high commission structures significantly impact earnings of these driver partners, right? And therefore, there is always this challenge that, if I pay 20, 25, 30% commission upwards, including tax, how much money do I really make by doing that digital trip? And therefore, there is a barrier, right? Also, the apps provide you with lesser autonomy, right? With information, right? These solutions are customer first, right? They're not driver first. They're not focused on the driver's life cycle, earning challenges, etc., and are largely focused on the consumer, right? So there's very little autonomy that they have by while they are on the platforms, right? Moving on, even from a consumer perspective, I'm sure some of you would have experienced this challenges. There is high cost of commute, right? Most platforms have charges that vary across the day, and therefore at many times you're paying very disproportionately high charges. Of course, market economics is good, but even then it needs to be best within some rails, right? And also the ride experience is very unreliable, right? Think about taking a flight or getting to a railway station, right? Your current ride hailing platforms definitely have a challenge in terms of reliability, right? uh, Also, when you look at public transportation, right, a lot of these public transportation systems today, versus the platforms, it's a competitive landscape, right? You're always making a choice between a public transportation system like metro and a ride-hailing service, right? These aren't collaborative, right? And that's the irony of it, that two different systems which should, ideally work in tandem, ideally be collaborating at the highest level, are today competing, and therefore disconnected public transportation ecosystem causing less than desired asset utilization, right? And finally, we end up with more vehicles on the road, which means more traffic and pollution. Now, moving ahead, so NDC looks at two broad principles, and these principles are fairly common and understood while they sound a little new when we talk about it: unbundling and interoperability. Now, what does unbundling and interoperability mean, right? So let's take the example of the BPO industry. India is world famous for the BPO industry, right? They have kind of gone to companies and said, here are certain processes that are standard. All of you follow it. Say order to pay, right? Or financial accounting, right? And said, why don't you let me run it as a specialist? I will outsource this process to myself, right? Run it as a specialist, bring in my expertise, bring in world-class experience, and also bring in efficiency and cost reduction, right? These processes can be done better at scale rather than each individual company run it. And today we have a world-class industry set up with India at the forefront of it, right? So that's in some way unbundling. If the process had multiple steps, can you unbundle a few parts, right? And interoperability is that you make these processes such that they can talk to each other seamlessly and are not dependent, right? Let's look at these concepts in the context of the current platforms, right? So if you look at a current platform, you have a consumer app that all of you use, you have a seller side app that the sellers use, and then the platform kind of holds these two together, right? So if you were to take an approach and say, can I unbundle the buyer app, the consumer app, and the seller app and consider them as two different apps, right? That's unbundling. And can these apps, like for example, as a buyer app, talk to every other seller app on the network and vice versa, then it becomes an interoperable network across. Let me move to an example that kind of tries to simplify. Think about email, right? I meet several people in a conference like this. We exchange business cards. I give you my email ID, you give me yours, right? One of us writes an email to the other. It seamlessly reaches you without having our systems talking to each other, our tech teams talking to each other. It seamlessly delivers that email to your inbox, or I get an email from you, right? Why does that happen? It happens because 40 years ago, somebody wrote a protocol called SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. That is a standardization that everybody follows, right? Now, on ONDC, we're also trying to do something similar, right? We are doing something similar where there is a commerce protocol which makes interaction between buyers on buyer apps with sellers and seller apps seamless and across platforms, right? That's what we're broadly trying to deliver. So if you see the chart on the right side, right, there's a buyer on a buyer application, which could be any consumer application of your choice, which could be a mobility application, it could be a banking application, talking using the ONDC protocol to sellers, which could be an auto rickshaw driver, which could be a retail kirana store, it could be a restaurant, it could be a salon, right? All of that on the seller side, on a seller application, seamlessly interacting with each other, right? Moving on, let me take an example of how this will transform the mobility landscape, and we're already in the process of executing this. Today, if you're on a platform, on the left, you're a consumer, right? And on the right, you're a driver, right? You're on platform 1, you onboard, and you will be only able to interact with the superset of drivers on platform 1, right? And if you need to interact with the drivers on platform 2, right, you need to be on platform 2, right? And most of the people who use apps today are dual, triple, quadruple app users. We're all switching between apps to figure out which is the best deal, how do I get it, right? And the converse also applies. If you're a driver on platform 1, right, and you want to interact with a consumer on platform 2, you again need to be on platform 2 and be able to get that ecosystem, right? So in the ONDC ecosystem, we're trying to transform it, right? So irrespective of which platform you are, assuming you are a consumer on platform 1, right, trying to get a ride, if the driver is on platform 2 or platform X or platform Z, right, as long as he's the right driver for you, you will be able to connect and receive a quote from him. And therefore, if you choose to have a transaction, within that transaction happens seamlessly, right? All of these entities, whether it is the driver, the buyer app on the left, the buyer app 1, buyer app 2, seller app 1, seller app 2, all of them are seamlessly interconnected to each other using the ONDC protocol on the ONDC network, right? So this is a very high level block diagram of what we are trying to build, right? So on the left, you see all the supply entities, which is, you see the taxis, the three-wheelers, the e-rickshaws, the intercity buses, intracity buses, dock scooters where applicable, metro, water metro, ferries, all different modes of transportation, all seamlessly connected as sellers or on seller apps to the ONDC network, interacting with buyers who could come from a host of applications, right? It could be a mobility app, it could be a travel app, it could be a payments app, banking app, so on and so forth. So the buyers on an app of their choice on the ONDC network will be able to interact with sellers across infrastructure modes, right, who are directly connected to the ONDC network. And therefore, very interesting possibility starts to emerge. This is not just an academic opportunity of just doing technical integration, right? So if you look at it, very, very interesting possibilities emerge. Multimodal remains the North Star for all transportation implementations, right? Everybody's talking. The first mile and the last mile remains the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenge. And when you're on the ONDC network, for example, in Kochi, if you're taking a metro ticket, right? If you're doing, say, from Alua to MG Road, right? You look at it and say that, okay, how do I get to the Alua metro station and how do I get out of the MG Road metro station and reach, say, Marine Drive, right? These two problems are equally important as, booking the metro ride. And over a period of time, we want to be able to stitch all three journey experience, which is, say, from your home to the Alua metro station, Alua metro station to the MG Road metro station, and MG Road metro station to, say, Marine Drive, right? All three journeys should be viable on a single experience and not have to do with multiple ticket purchases and the ensuing consumer anxiety, right? So what does this mean in terms of for supply providers like auto drivers, buses, etc.? There is higher revenue, optimized allocation of resources, and data and trip-based planning, right? If you're a app trying to do this, you have far more data in terms of how you want to allocate your resources, right? We also want to look at win-win for citizens, right? As a citizen, you look at it, there is convenience and saving. You're getting a far better transportation experience, more optimized transportation experience. We expect a lot of our apps to say that, okay, you're booking journey from point A to point B. There is a cab available for 350 rupees, but you will save time and money if you do this integrated multimodal journey, which costs you 120 rupees, for example, right? And that's the kind of convenience saving we endeavor to build, right? Boost in productivity, improved well-being, right? Any stress in transportation reduction is always great for well-being, right? So more for government, from a government perspective, inclusive economic growth, right? The usage of public transportation is core to the growth of any country, right? And if you look at a state like Kerala, our car penetration now rivals China, right? It's one of the highest for any states in India, and it rivals what China has today, about 400 cars for every 1,000 people, right? The environment and the citizen community which uses public transportation, some of the most successful cities in the world have been built on a bedrock of a great transportation network. Whether you take Singapore, Hong Kong, London, all of these cities fundamentally offer great transportation systems integrated across multimodal journeys across, right? So while this is all under work in progress, there is some work that has happened. I'm very happy to report we're live in 4 cities where we do auto plus taxi rides today. This journey started in Kochi, open mobility started in Kochi. Then we went to Bangalore and Mysore, and we are now in partnership with West Bengal government live in Kolkata, right? And today we have onboarded 1.46 lakh registered drivers who have done 1.78 crore lifetime trips, earning 269 crores commission free, right? Serving 36 lakh riders, right? So this is the last 12 months of progress, what we have done in 4 cities. We hope to be in multiple cities in India across the next couple of months. Most of the metros are under launch over the next quarter. By March 31st, we hope to be in all the top 7 cities, and you will see a lot of our new apps coming up and being serving as metro as providers, right? Now, moving on, I think I spoke about these value propositions. I'll move ahead. I want to just talk a few minutes for metro. Metro is very, very core to urban transportation experience, and Bera sir has been very kind enough to be the first metro to join the ONDC network, right? We hope to go live end of December. We also have Chennai, Pune in the pipeline. Amit ji from DMRC was here. We also hope to have DMRC soon, and the other metros are under implementation, right? So when we look at a metro, what are the core problem statements we're looking at, right? So key journey elements for a seamless metro experience. There is pre-journey, during journey, and after journey, right? And I'll talk about each of these very briefly. Yeah, so pre-journey, awareness, availability, schedules, right? Most metros publish it on Google, but it can always be better, right? How, where is the nearest metro station? What is the next schedule? All of these information could always be available, right? We're building it in such a way that, for example, Google Maps is joining the ONDC network, and tomorrow, once it's implemented, You will be able to search in Google Maps and see the metro schedules, plus be able to buy a metro ticket, for example. So you have the entire planning experience already available, say on Google Maps. So if you're familiar with Google Maps, when you search, right, you get a multimodal experience, right? You can drive a car, you can take a bike, or you can take a public transportation system, which will be metro in this case, or one more mode, right? Where you see the public transportation system, each city that we are live in, right? There on that interface, you'll be able to buy a metro ticket, and that's coming soon in the next couple of months, right? Now let's move to post journey, and I spoke a little about multimodal earlier, right? The core journey, the first mile and the last mile, right? That together constitutes the entire consumer journey. Right? The consumer doesn't look at my journey on the metro as a journey, right? How do I get to the metro station and how do I get out of the metro station and reach my destination are equally pertinent problems with last mile, first mile access providers joining the network, bike taxis, buses, etc. We hope to build that out as a good experience, right? Ease of ticketing, right? Today, multiple modes of ticketing are available. But imagine if you could book a metro ticket, a QR code from any app of your choice, right? And instead of having 5 or 7 digital apps or having a card, you can also book a QR ticket from any app of your choice. And I cited the example of Google Maps earlier, right? Similarly, if you look at ancillary services, and this is more downstream, ONDC network already has about 70,000 restaurants live across India, right? To give you context, that's about 30% of all digital restaurants that operate across India, right? So about 30% of the country's supply on restaurants is live, right? All of these services, suppose you want to buy food, you want to buy something on e-commerce, a station can be a pickup destination. This is already being built in parallel. While I'm only talking mobility, travel, and transportation and travel, there are other teams that are working to build food, grocery, B2B, beauty and personal care. All of these domains are also being built as we speak, right? Safety. Now, metro is an extremely safe mode of transport, and Kochi probably is not the best example if talk about safety. I mean, inherently one of the safer cities in India. But in several cities, right, the last mile and first mile, say at odd hours, definitely remains a safety challenge for commuters. And let's take men may be comfortable, but enough women commuters need to travel if our country needs to develop, right? And for them, right, as long as safety is a challenge, it becomes a problem. And on a digital journey, right, the end-to-end travel experience becomes trackable, right? Today, you may have a digital QR ticket for the metro, but how you got to the metro station and last mile still remains a black hole that, from a safety perspective is an unknown, right? That's how the work that we are trying to solve as well, right? After journey, I think one of the things we want to build is, the equivalent of an NPS score that every trip, right, whether it's a metro trip, last mile or first mile, is rated, and we have customer feedback, and that feedback kind of, comes back and becomes an input to all providers to try and improve their systems, and therefore becomes a rigorous framework to, assess performance from every service provider. With that, I'll take a quick 20-second video on what we are trying to build, right, which kind of visualizes it. I'll just talk you through the video. It essentially shows someone from Gurgaon, and if you're familiar with Delhi NCR, from his home traveling to the IFCO Chowk metro station in Gurgaon on using an auto, right? And from the IFCO Chowk metro station, he takes the metro line to Rajiv Chowk, which is, CP. And from CP, he takes a bus to Barakamba Road, right? All 3 metro modes are coming in. We're waiting to sign Delhi Metro. DTC is already signed. We are launching autos, right? So all 3 modes very soon will be available to book on the ONDC network on any of our buyer applications, right? Not just on 1, 2, or 5, multiple buyer applications where you will be able to deliver that transportation mode. Yeah. So I think that's the video. Take an auto, get to the IFCO Chowk metro station in Gurgaon. From IFCO Chowk metro station, you go to Rajiv Chowk in CP. And from CP, you take a bus to go to Barakamba Road, right? So essentially, all 3 modes of transportation, just try to visualize what I said already, easily bookable in as a single journey, as a single ticket. And this is something we want to enable across cities in India, right? And the advantages for any player, like say on the buyer side, and this is where I want to go back to the protocol and see why this is a lot more possible on the ONDC network and other modes, is you integrate once to the ONDC network, you have all city data available. So as a consumer app, right, you build a metro ticket buying experience for one city, right? Any city that goes live, you are ready to go live immediately. And the converse for a metro, any metro that joins the ONDC network is accessible to all the buyer and consumer apps that are on the ONDC network today that offer mobile metro ticketing, and any new app that comes tomorrow, right? It's a default integration. You don't need to have conversations. Think email, right? You don't just because somebody launched a new domain, you don't need to do any technology integrations, right? I can start a company tomorrow, launch a domain and have an email ID. You send me an email, it reaches me seamlessly, right? The same approach to enabling commerce, right? Moving on, I want to take one or two other examples. This is, somebody from Chandigarh going to Shimla. It's a hill station nearby, I think, going to Munnar from here, right? What are the typical things that you want to build when you want to do a holiday like that? There's a bus ticket to get you from Chandigarh to Shimla. There is hotel accommodation. There is travel to the bus station, which is your first mile, travel from the bus station to the hotel, and sightseeing. A bunch of things, right? Today, if you were to do it, you have to go to multiple places to get all of this accomplished, right? You're probably booking your bus ticket on Red Bus. You're doing, hotel booking on Make My Trip. Cab Bazaar is giving you the cab, and Just Dial is probably giving you sightseeing options, right? Progressively, we will have all of this available in ONDC. Yatri is one of ONDC's apps, and that's just an example. It could be any ONDC app. All of these things could be available on a single interface to purchase, right? So all of these are available, and therefore, it's instead of 1 to 5 carts, right? It's a single cart, and all of these things can be purchased. And I'm saying all of it, and this is the only experience possible, but this is an example of what potentially could be available, right? Having said all of this, I also want to talk about ONDC. We are an open network capability and infrastructure. We are not an application platform or a product. Now, this is very important that I want to emphasize. You cannot log into www.ondc.org and say, okay, where is my ride or where is my restaurant, right? There is nothing on our website. We are backend infrastructure like UPI. We interconnect apps, we interconnect buyers and sellers, and therefore you will need to be on one of our apps to use ONDC as a network, right? There are infinite models, fertile to innovation. It's not for ONDC to govern and decide what innovative models, emerge tomorrow. We are not a central intermediary. In fact, we eliminate the need for a central intermediary. All interactions are between apps directly using the ONDC protocol. The only role we play is in search and discovery. We are a market and community-led initiative supported by the government, right? And we are not a regulator. So we often get asked these questions: will you govern prices? Will you govern rules? We frame the rules of the network. We govern the network, but we are not a regulator, right? Moving on, just wanted to highlight the Prime Minister speaking about a truly made in India digital revolution for the world. There is no precedence for a similar open network anywhere in the world. What Beacon protocol built, and now ONDC is building on top of Beacon protocol, is a one of its kind network anywhere in the world. And the Prime Minister talked about two examples. One is what we're doing with the farmer producer organizations, and also with MSMEs, which are other domains where there is work happening on the ONDC network, right? Only Piyush also talking about Made in India. We report into the Ministry of Commerce. This is our advisory council. You see stalwarts from digital public infrastructure like Nandan, R. Sharmaji, Adil, right? Government bureaucrats, Sanjeev, Anurag Jainji, Anil Agarwalji, all of these bureaucrats, Dilip Aspe from NPCI, a whole host of people. Even from industry, we have Kumar Rajgopalan from Retail Association of India. All of them have come together to kind of guide ONDC. ONDC conceptually was established, the advisory council was established in June 21. The company was established in December 21, so we're about 2 years old as a company, right? We did our first transaction in April of 22. The first beta transaction went live in Bangalore in 2022. Today we have about 2 lakh plus merchants, 3 crore products on the retail side that are live. And I earlier spoke about some of the work we've done. I think I'll be quick on the case study. Kochi was one of the first markets where we did mobility. We signed MOU with the state government. We are now onboarding. We have an app called Yatri, soon to be called Namma Yatri, which is available. We have another app launching soon. I'll not steal their thunder. Right, so in the Kochi network, we are looking at having KSRTC, KMRL, and like I said, Parasar has been kind enough to be a big supporter of the ONDC network, and we're hoping to launch sometime towards the end of December, around Christmas, right? And all of these entities are in the process of integrating, right? We did similar work in Bangalore. We are slightly bigger in size. In Bangalore, we have BMTC, BMRCL, some of the other entities also coming on. Kolkata is a more interesting case study where the West Bengal government partnered with the ONDC and launching an app. The app is called Yatri Sathi, right? And the West Bengal government is now working with us to bring in metro, ferries, all other transportation modes. They're also looking at doing other services such as food, peer-to-peer, logistics, etc., which will all be supported by the government. Yatri Sathi app was formally launched during Pujo on 13th of October, and we've already crossed 10,000 rides a day, right? Moving on, very active involvement from the Kolkata police. Unlike other state polices, Kolkata police wears the white uniform. So everybody in white there is a uniform policeman. On the right is IG Mitesh Jain, who used to lead the project. Currently is led by another IG Sukesh Jain, and we work with the principal secretary ITC, Rajiv Kumar IPS. So that's ONDC from my side. With that, I conclude. Thank you very much for hearing us out. Hope to have you as patrons of this national initiative when we launch in Kochi with the metro. Thank you. Jai Hind.